Welcome to Hot Flash Chronicles, where midlife is messy, menopause is madness, and we're sweating through it together.
We're Angie and Shelly, two caffeine-fueled, slightly inappropriate grandmas who say what everyone's thinking.
So grab a drink, crank up the AC, and let's dive in. Angie, guess what?
Chicken butt.
That's right.
I don't know why I did that.
It is time for another riveting episode. And this one's going to be good. And I'm Shelly.
I love how every single time you're like, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, they always are.
They are. You're such a good predictor of the future.
So.
Oh, I'm Angie.
And
I didn't take my Adderall today.
And she'll make this even more fun and probably even better.
Yeah.
This episode, I think, is going to speak to a lot of people. And it is about momming. Momming through all the different phases, because we've been through
so many phases. Yeah.
And you can be a new mom. You can be
an old
seasoned mom. A mom
paprika
in the later years of momming. And every one of those stages is a whole new roller coaster.
Skill set. It's a new skill set. It's a new thing to hone, like a new honing system.
It is.
Words are real hard for me today. Look at that. You're
coming up with some
it's honing. Yeah. A skill to hone, a skill to learn.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We're running. I'm backing that in. That's the one. That's what I meant.
Yep. So all the things that Angie just said, for real. But it is a very, I think it's a very rewarding journey, even though it is extremely hard. There's also some of the best and most lovely memories you will ever acquire in your life will be from this journey. So it's like, it's important.
Yeah. It's the best work that you'll do.
It is.
Like
it's the most important work.
Like it is the most important job that I've ever had. It is the one I've taken the most seriously. It's the one that I'm the most proud of.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you had your oldest?
I had my first, my daughter, my oldest, when I was 21.
And I was almost 20 or almost 20. No, I was almost 21. Yeah. Almost 21.
Yeah. And so back in the 80s, when I had my daughter.
94 is when I had my.
That was still a time when, like, I think of that age now and I think, oh my God, that was so young. Like when I hear people in 2025, they're 21 years old and they're having a baby, I think, oh my gosh, they're just a child. That's so young. And in the 80s, though, that wasn't really that young. I mean, any time after you got out of high school and got married or not, or didn't get married and had a kid, it was like, that wasn't that weird to have young parents. So I
don't think it's that weird now anymore.
No, it's really not. No. It's not a thing that age really dictates.
I think we hear about it, like with the readiness of information at our fingertips, we hear about a lot more things more often, I would venture to guess. So
yeah, and I think, if you go back through time, people became parents at age 13 and 14. Mm-hmm. Really, through the early 1900s and maybe even.
Well, yeah, when people had a lifespan of
28 years, you had to get those other ones out.
Cracking those kids out.
Cracking them out. So it's like, no judgment on when you start your journey, because it has nothing to do with if you'll be a good parent or not. It might have to do with how prepared you are and how much support you have. Those things are important no matter what age you are. But my second child, my son, I had almost 10 years later. So I had two very different momming experiences because I was a very experienced parent the second time around. First time always is brand spanking new and you don't know what you're
There's a lot to learn. There's so many kids, like babies come with accoutrements that it's like, it's funny for this tiny little human. You have like 19 bags and strollers and car seats and
so many.
And all of these things. Like, oh, don't forget the swing. Like, why do I have to pack a swing in my car? That's ridiculous. But it's like these babies have the things that they're used to, and like, oh, it has to be this brand of Binky or this kind of bottle or this flavor of like my 2-year-old grandson is. We were talking today. He is obsessed with like the little packets of fruits and veggies.
Oh yeah.
And he loves the yogurt ones.
Yeah.
And his mom was like, bro, you can't just rock through a whole case of those at a go. Like that can't be good for him. But he has figured out where my parents store them.
Oh.
And he's over at my parents' house all the time because they live in the same complex. They call my parents Gigi and Gopa because Opa is grandpa in German, but he's a great Opa. So he's Gopa.
That makes sense.
So anytime he goes to Gigi and Gopa's, he heads straight for the packets. And it was like an unlimited amount. Last night we were over there and he comes up and just hands me one and I open it by a reflex and his mom's like, hey, maybe not because we're about to have dinner. I was like, oh shit, I'm sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
But like, how do you say no?
We could, and we probably will at some point. You could do a whole podcast about how kids eat and how worried you are about it throughout their life.
Yeah.
Especially when they're little. My daughter got really fixated for about a year on the only thing she would eat was macaroni and cheese and hot dogs. And that was it. And maybe I could get some green beans in her. That was about it.
My daughter just grew out of that and she's in her late 20s.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you can really fixate. And, I took her to dietitians and I went to pediatricians and all this stuff. And they were like, she'll literally get bored of it and outgrow it. And that is what happened. But just that, for example, there's so many things. You can be a helicopter parent. You can be one that's hovering around and worried. And that really is hard not to do when you've never done it before and it's your first child. So when people accuse you of being too attentive or too whatever, you're not.
Do you, however you want to parent legally, however you want, like, don't let somebody tell you like that you're being...
No, you're going to figure it all out.
Yeah.
You're going to figure out what works for you, what's best for you, and what's best for your child. Have confidence in yourself that you are going to be able to do that because sometimes people who you love are going to give you their opinion on if you're doing things right or wrong.
Boy.
And sometimes this can be a relative.
Sometimes it's constant, right? People are always.
It could be a friend. It could be a close friend, and they're going to let you know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. I'm winking and I'm making finger quotes for people who are listening, because all you have to do is smile and say, "I'm so glad that you care about me and you're interested." That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say. You don't have to do anything they tell you.
I remember when my daughter-in-law was pregnant with my first grandson and my son was having oh my God, I'm about to be a father.
Oh yeah.
Like kind of realization. He was like 25-ish. And we were at his baby shower or their baby shower. And their friend had brought their newborn to the baby shower. So they have like a 3-month-old there. And by the way, now the kids are like besties. And my son has this little panic, like, oh my God, how do I hold a baby? Like, he's like, how do I do this? How do I, oh my, like, Mom, I don't know how to, it's okay. Just breathe for a second. You know how to hold a baby. You're just like second guessing yourself. And by the time his first son was like a month old, he's like swinging him around. They're like doing the like baton routines with the baby. Like you're gonna figure it out. And it's like that moment of terror on Kyle's face, like, I'm about to be a dad and I don't even know how to. But he was like, he came at it like a champ.
You are going to do so much better at this than you think you are. It is something when you have the baby and they're here, all the fear and everything, it quickly subsides just because you become so busy just doing the things. And all of a sudden one day you're like, oh, I know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
I know how to soothe this baby. I know how to do all the things I'm supposed to. It will happen. And I think people get themselves so worked up ahead of time. So phase 1, you're having the baby. The baby's going to be a brand new newborn. Just recognize.
They require constant attention.
Yeah.
Like they're not self-sufficient.
At that point, you want to. You're into that.
I remember just crying with gratitude the first time Kyle was able to get himself out of bed, get a bowl of cereal, and turn cartoons on. It was like, oh, thank God. I can sleep for 7 more minutes.
I can sleep for 7
It was like that autonomy of the like 5-year-old was just like, this is the good stuff.
And there's good stuff. There's so many things. There'll be so many challenges along the way. And as they become toddlers, that's a whole thing. When they learn the word no, that's a whole thing. And it's their favorite word.
My son didn't realize that he could lie until he was 8. It didn't even cross his mind. He was such an honest little kid that it's like, who drew on the wall? He's like, I did. And it's like, oh, okay, well, don't do that. Like, thanks for but then he still has the same tell when he's lying. He turns his face and he looks at you sideways and blinks rapidly. It's like, oh, okay.
You learn these things.
Yes.
You learn these things.
I'm on to you, kid.
And there's a lot of, like, some people are only going to have an only child. Some people are going to have lots of kids, or a couple, or 7, how many ever you have. And every one of them.
Or no kids. That's also okay.
It's absolutely.
You can be an auntie or an uncle. Like, that's also
and
cool.
Still have the experience. And you will learn that every child is different. Just because this one acted this way doesn't mean any after will act like that. Your kids may not act anything like you or their other parent. It's like the one thing you can count on is that you're not going to be able to count on
the predictability is that it's totally unpredictable.
It is. It's so unpredictable. And
so you raised a son and a daughter. I have a biological son and 2 stepdaughters. They're all 3 my kids, but I did not raise little girls because they were early teens when they came into my life.
Yeah.
What was the difference in parenting between the daughter versus the son? And I know they're totally different humans because I know them. They're very different personalities.
Yes.
But what were the major differences in raising a daughter versus a son?
So I think a lot of it has to do surely with the age, or like an older child and a younger child.
So the dynamic of like which one's older. Got it. Okay.
And my daughter was the oldest, and she was my first. So I was a much different person and mother with her than I was with my son. I didn't have any experience, and I was very hyper vigilant more with her. And that will show in the personality.
Right.
Your first kid, who you are carrying around 400 items for to make sure they're soothed all the time.
And then the second one, you're like, I don't just throw them on a couch.
Like, did I bring the diapers? I don't know.
It's fine. It'll be fine.
They'll be fine. Yeah, there's the dip. That's why you have a baby shower the first time. You have a sprinkle the second time. The second child, you're just more at ease, more relaxed in who you are as a parent. And you recognize that you don't have to be as hyper vigilant, and you just believe in yourself. So you act with a lot more confidence. So my daughter is a much more organized, and things can't change. It's hard for her to accept change because she
is very linear. She's very organized. She's very
she's very focused,
serious. I guess like she's not like, I wouldn't call her silly.
Well, she is a Virgo.
I know she has silly moments, but she's very like contained and like
she's a very dependable person. Like this is a person you can count on. She's a hard worker. She shows up. She is very, very smart about whatever the thing is you need her to do. She has a plan for it.
Very capable,
highly capable. And this is just a very dependable person. Now, my son is also a hard worker and someone you can count on. He's a good friend, but he has a much more mellow, much more relaxed, much more
he's more like go with the flow, like it's all good. Like
and I was much more that parent with him. Now, those aren't the only things that define them, of course. It wasn't always about me, but I can tell you the way you are around them and the energy that you're putting out, whether it's a calm vibe or a more a little bit more, I don't know how to say it, but just a vigilant vibe. That does have babies pick up on that. Yeah, it's overly attentive sometimes. But the child does kind of pick up on that. And I think that does lend in a little bit to how they're going to go. But also, you have no control over so much of what's going to happen and what their personality is. Yeah. You can only influence where you can. There is just parts of it is who they are.
Yeah, I agree. And like my son knows that words of affirmation is my love language. And almost every time I see him, which is a couple times a week, and his is physical touch. So, and he's very tall. So I give him a nice hug and he says, Mom, you're doing a great job. You're a wonderful mom and I love you.
Yeah.
And I say, you're a great son. And he's like, it's not about me right now.
Yeah.
So but he always is like last night he was like, I just want you to know how cool it has been to watch you turn this thing that you enjoy doing into a thriving business out of nothing. Like you literally just took a camera and built this empire. And it is so cool to say, my mom did that. She's successful. She has, earned this or won this or done whatever. And it's like, oh, that gave me all the happy feelings of like, so we're really big on making sure that the other one receives love from the other in the way that they prefer it. So
I think that's important.
What's your love language?
I probably have like a mixture.
Well, I think everybody has like
kind of a little bit. Mine are hearing it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation for sure. And it could be
quality time.
I like acts of service. Yeah. Is that the one? Those ones are ones where somebody is telling me and showing me.
Like I grabbed you a coffee on my way kind of thing. Like, it's like,
little, and it's honestly the little things. Those are the ones that kind of impress me more because I'm like, oh, they know me.
Right.
That when somebody shows that they know me,
right,
that's really the thing that hits me like, oh, because I'm hard to know. Like it's hard to know. You think maybe these are the things, but it's very interesting what things are that really matters.
Like, why would you think I'd like it? Yeah. Do you know what Phil's is?
Phil likes acts of his is one of them is touching.
Kids?
It's touching, like the touch, like he likes the hugs. Hugs mean a lot for him. And I think the other one too is he likes to hear, it's affirmation. He likes to hear that you approve of or are getting something from the things that he does for you.
Yeah, my husband is physical touch. And of course, Jeff's a skeptic of anything like this. Any sort of, he's like, there aren't just 5 types of people. But he also loves acts of service. Like he cleared out an area for me to do a garden.
Yeah.
And that was like how he spent his Sunday yesterday. Because he knew, that's his way of saying, I love you. Yeah. So do you know what your kids are? And are you able to like I'm not as touchy of a person, but because I know my son craves that, I make sure that I'm, and he's such a good hugger. Kyle is like the best hugger. He's such a, like, he just envelops you. So
yeah. My son is definitely words of affirmation. He likes to hear it. My daughter is, I don't know if it's what she really likes, but I like the gifts, like giving her gifts. I think that show that I know the things that she likes, and I know when she gets things like from her partner or from her kids, she really appreciates it when it's a thing that she likes.
I think it's good to know a lot of the people around you what theirs are, because then you know that you're like filling that bucket. Like my mom's is quality time.
Right.
So if you don't hang out with her, then she's going to feel
like it's wrong.
Yeah. So it's just recognizing that and like, okay, we need to make sure that we fill this bucket, and we all fill each other's buckets all the time.
Yeah.
So,
and I think parenting is, with your kids, the skills you get in parenting actually make you way more in tune to other people in your life, because you kind of take on this caretaker role, or it's something where you have to be aware of this other person and how they're acting and how they're feeling. And so when your kids are older, like we now have empty nests, which is it's still a phase of parenting. You're still their parent. They don't need you the way that they used to need you, but they still need you.
Right. And both of my daughter's families live in different states. Yeah. So that's really tricky to not get to see them as much. Like I just went and stayed with my youngest daughter's family when we went to Vegas and got to hang out with those grandkids. They each, our 6th grandchild was born on Monday.
Oh,
yes. We have a new granddaughter. Her name is Harley.
Lovely.
She's beautiful. She's creamy. She's very early. She's tiny. Like 3 pounds. Tiny. But she's okay. She's good. Mama's okay.
I know that was all planned.
Yes. That was all. It was induced because mom had some medical stuff. But we have our 6th grandchild. So each of our kids has 2. But when I went to Vegas, I went and stayed with my youngest family for a few days ahead of time. And it was so cool to get to see those grandkids. And like Isaiah's the one that was like obsessed with Jingle Bell Rock. Rolling down Las Vegas Boulevard.
So you'll hear all about Jingle Bell Rock.
He was obsessed with Jingle Bell Rock. He just turned 4 this week. And then his cousin was born the day after his birthday. Isn't that cool? So I have 6 grandbabies now.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother phase that you get to enjoy as a parent is when, or if, I mean, not everybody will get to have grandchildren, so I feel
or kids. It's like I have a lot of friends who don't have children, and that's fine, and they love their roles as like auntie or uncle or like having your friends' kids, like Bethany and Tyson's kids. I'm super close with because we hang out with them a lot. So.
Yeah, and not having kids is absolutely fine and okay, and people have very rewarding and lovely lives and no shade on anyone.
Yeah.
If you have kids, if you don't.
We're not judging people.
We never judge. No. But just if you are on a journey of parenting, give yourself so much grace and so much kindness because you're going to learn the right things and the wrong things for you. And it really is a unique skill set that you have to develop into what works for you and your children.
I have a funny
mine
story.
Don't be what other people do or recommend.
Yeah. So my son has always been like on the leaner side of life, right? Mm-hmm. And when he was a kid, he would much rather eat like a bag of broccoli than cookies or chips. Or he was a very healthy eater, still is. And there are 2 times in his life where I said, you finish that cupcake before you eat any more carrots. That does not feel like solid parenting, in fact. It doesn't.
I feel like that's actually fine.
Because, I was like, no, finish your cake. No more vegetables till you eat your cake. Twice. That doesn't feel like solid parenting. He was young. But
you want him to know the finer things in life.
He would just sit with a bag of raw spinach and eat it like it was chips. I'm like, what is happening? And the doctor was like, he's underweight, but we don't want to just like start pumping him full of
crap,
of
sugar,
chips.
Yeah.
But she said, so if he's drinking milk, add some chocolate to it. If he's having carrots, dip it in ranch. He's never been a real saucy kind of kid. He's saucy, but he's never been.
He doesn't like.
Yeah. So she's like trying to add calories like on the periphery. And it was like, he's fine.
He's fine.
Yeah. Now he's at a healthy weight. He's never been at an unhealthy weight, but
you know,
it just cracked me
when
up.
You saw a thing that was happening, you went and got some advice.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When you are a new parent, or even if you're an experienced parent, go to your other friends who are parents, go to your parents if your parents are still available, or your aunts or your uncles.
Available.
If they're still here.
Open for business.
But have people who can be your support when you're a parent and who you can bounce ideas off of, and know that those people can be your doctors, your pediatricians. They can be those people. They can be your friends. They can be relatives.
Play dates, like school friends, parents. Like
but have people, when you think about something or if you're questioning, figure out who those people are in your life, who you can go to, because you need help and you need support when you're going through any phase of parenting.
Accurate.
And there's, especially when they're teenagers. You think that's
if you have kids that are not quite yet teenagers.
Yeah. You think that's a time when you can step back? It's not.
It is not. And it's okay. They're still wildly lovable.
They are.
But it is, Kyle never went through the terrible 2s. I'm still waiting for it. He's almost 31.
It's going to happen.
But like teenage years can be tricky because there's autonomy there and there's a little bit of like boundary flexing and like, what if I do this? And they're getting in trouble more and stuff like that. So it's like
an adult. They're building, they're honing. I'm going to use your word.
Ooh, honing
their skills on how they're going to be independent. And it feels like pushback, and it is. It's not just that it feels like it. Some of it is just real pushback.
It's boundary testing.
It's push and pull to learn. And it is a challenging time for parents, but it will reap you the most rewards down the line, because through those challenges and you each testing the boundaries is where you get this person who's going to go out and function in the world and take care of themselves. And that's the goal. Like, as a parent, you want these people to be able to go out and survive in the world.
And here's what I'm going to say is, for anybody who's listening, whether you're a mom or a dad or an uncle or an aunt or a cousin or a sister, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
You're killing it. You're slaying all of the things that you are choosing for the other people in your life, whether they're small or tall. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
You are in there.
This is
doing
not
your
an
thing.
easy job. It's not an
No,
easy
but it's
role.
so worthwhile. Best
is.
gig ever.
Yep.
You're doing great.
Mhm.
Keep doing it. Keep being you. Keep being your person for that person.
Absolutely. And when you are one of those support people, recognize how important that is. You're an important role in a child's life too, even when you're just the friend of, the parent who has this child. You listening to them, listening to their kid stories, looking at their kid pictures. That's super important. Like, as a parent, we're proud. We're proud when our kids do things that are very mundane. Sometimes it's like, he didn't pick his nose in public. I'm so happy. You're going to be, oh, that's so great.
When we were in Australia a couple months ago, we were there with the hockey team, and there was a guy on the team who's like 22, 23. Sorry, Ronan, I don't know exactly how old you are, but he's like this young, doesn't have kids. He's like newly adulting, and he's sitting at the table with Jeff and I, and then our friend Tom, who Tom also has like grandchildren, and we're regaling all of the things that our grandkids have done. And Ronan, bless his heart, was just sitting there like, oh, I want to see another picture of this. And I was like, what a good young adult that's like,
somebody
it was like actually like giving a shit about our stories about, like Tom was talking about his granddaughter was doing stuff in his yard, like building a tree house. And Ronan's like, oh, what kind of, he was actively giving a shit. And I was like, that was cute to see like a little young adult.
We all want
that's
to
like,
tell our stories about things we're proud of, and we're proud of our kids and our grandkids. So we want to tell those stories. We want people to listen. I like to hear other people's stories because I know I want them to listen to mine. So we appreciate that 100%.
Yes, absolutely.
And just recognize that the parenting thing is going to be challenging. There's going to be days when you absolutely feel like you're failing, and this poor child is going to suffer greatly.
They'll be fine.
And they're not.
They'll probably be fine.
It's good for them to go through those
There's
things.
no guarantee stamp on that because shit happens.
Learned,
but
as a parent, the most important thing I can tell you, the biggest takeaway I know, it's the big one. When you mess up, especially when your kids are a little bit older, like when they are teenagers, when you make a mistake, own up to it because you need to show them that adults make mistakes. So when they're older and they're adults, they don't feel weird when they make their mistake. I remember my parents would never admit to mistakes, ever. They'd never apologize when they were wrong. And there were times when they were, because of course there were. We're not perfect. So I recognized early on, I just thought, you know what? When I mess up, I'm going to own it and I'm going to be accountable for it. And then I'm going to try to, make amends for it if I need to. So I think it's important for your kids to see that you're human. I think it's important that sometimes they need to see you not at your best and see you come back and heal from things. But you don't want to hide. Like, I think a lot of times we try to hide when we're sad. We try to hide when we're having big feels or big feelings because we don't want them to think anything's abnormal. There are times when that is appropriate, depending on what it is, but it's not every time.
Right.
Sometimes it is okay to be real and let them see that you're imperfect. And
that is really good advice. And I'm going to say that my biggest piece of advice with small children is remembering that even though they're a smaller version of us, they're just as much of a human as we are. And they have the authority to have autonomy over their body, over their words, over their feelings. And just because they're small doesn't mean that they don't get to have an opinion. They don't get to join a conversation. They don't get to learn to do something like this isn't like don't be dismissive of children because they are like they're everything.
I ask my grandkids if they want a hug goodbye. I ask.
Yeah.
You want a hug from grandma? Because sometimes they're busy doing their thing and I don't want them to have to stop and come over and do something. So I always say, do you want a hug? Grandma's got to go bye-bye. And they'll either come or they won't. And either one of those is okay. But I give them the option.
Yeah, my oldest grandson is not really big on hugging. And my son and his wife very early on were like, no, do not make him hug you.
Yeah.
He gets to choose. And it was like, oh, you're right. But we never like used baby talk. It was like we just talk to kids like they're a whole person because they are. So give them that empowerment to have, build on thoughts and build on concepts and they get just as much of a say, even though they're a smaller person.
Absolutely.
You just might have to guide it.
It's just universal respect. It's
Treat them like a person because they aren't one.
another human.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Cool. Okay, so rapid fire questions.
Ooh, yes, we like to end with a couple
Do you want to go first?
brand new questions. Let's go me, you, me.
Okay, got it.
Okay. All right. Angie,
Shelly.
if you were a toy in a toy store, what would you be?
I would be a puzzle.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'd be a very colorful puzzle that, very time consuming.
Very time consuming. People have to figure you out.
Yeah, I got to
get a great
It's a
result.
wonderful result
It feels really
to unscramble me and
Love it.
figure out what kind of picture it's going to be.
Love it.
Shelly, if you were a food at a concession stand at a football game, what would you be?
Ooh.
I don't know why I yelled that.
I want to be a chili dog because that just sounds.
Chili dog.
It sounds like the thing you want when you're there.
Yeah.
You just want a bun, you want some meat in it, you want a bunch of beans on top.
Oh, now I am a chili dog.
Yeah.
We'll make this for dinner. Okay, sorry. Second question.
All right. If you have the choice between a comedy movie and an adventure movie, which one do you go for?
Comedy every time. I like to laugh.
Same, me too. I don't like to be
to laugh.
stressed out.
Yeah.
And I don't like horror movies. They're way too stressful.
I don't like the cymbal crashing, like jump startle or whatever it's called. I don't love that. Shelly, if somebody was playing you in a TV show, which actress would play you?
Ooh, I would want somebody funny and smart. Tina Fey. I want
Great answer.
Tina Fey, if you're out there and you need to do a new autobiography or movie about someone, you could.
It wouldn't be autobiography.
No, that's a book.
No, an autobiography is when
By
you write it about yourself.
Oh, a biography.
Yes, that one.
That one.
Tina Fey, if you're looking for work, call this one. Well, that is a wrap on this episode of Hot Flash Chronicles. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. Please hit subscribe, share with your friends, find us on the socials, and we will see you next time on the flip side.
Bye. That's a wrap on this episode. If you laughed, related, or just need more, hit subscribe.
Check out the show notes to find us on socials and YouTube and join our Patreon for exclusive extras.
And remember,
we're still hot, just in flashes.